Chan, hello, Alasdair, though.
Chan, hello, Sam, though.
Chan, are we going to do this the whole episode, though?
Chan, let's do this the whole episode, though. I don't see any... Oh, wait, I said a new sentence. Chan, I think that would be great, though.
Chan, I don't know how long we can keep it up, though.
Oh, no, I've already lost. We're both... Let's swear.
Oh, God, no, you swear. No, don't swear in front of audience. How are you?
I'm good. We should go back, just mark every episode of Wholala as explicit, because we're not using the Chan, though.
We're saying really naughty words in every single one, and Martha Jones is cackling to herself in the corner.
She's cackling! If there's one thing Martha likes, it's a swear word. Does she ever swear? No, not at all, but
Martha
she loves
swears.
a swear word.
Martha swore in her first episode.
What'd she do?
She went, "We're on the bloody moon."
Oh, bloody is such a borderline, like, is it, isn't it, swear.
It is definitely the most junior swear, but it is a swear.
Yeah.
It's a little swear.
Yeah.
It's a pre-watershed swear.
It's one of your first ever swears, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Your first two are bloody and shit.
Bloody, I was going to say bloody and bloody hell. Oh, I was so excited to watch the episode we're watching today. I normally, I'm watching, I'm like, oh, it's okay. This is an episode where I watch it until 35 minutes in, and I'm like, this is fine, this is good, I like this. And then those last 10 minutes, it's good.
Whoa. It gives you a big slap around the face. It's chaos as well, this episode. It's chaos. It's a great story. I've watched it maybe 2 or 3 times this year.
Really? That's nice. I don't blame you. It's a really good one. We've been flirting with the idea of doing this. So if you've been listening to Wholala for a while, you know that last year we like to do things in lots of clusters. And last year we did the 3-part finale for Series 9, Face the Raven, Hellbent, Heaven Sent. I did the last year in the wrong order, but anyway. And we've been flirting with the idea of doing the Series 3 finale for a while, and we've been sort of edging around it and sort of edging ourselves with it. And we finally caved this week.
We gave in to the edge. And I don't want to take that metaphor any further, but yes, we've finally given in. We were going to do a sort of discussion topic episode, and I've just had no brain space this week to actually think a single original thought. So I was like, what's the easiest thing we can talk about that I feel like I'm something of an expert in? And you were like, don't do Utopia. And it had the same energy as someone being like, do you fancy takeaway tonight? And I was like, oh, yeah, go on.
You're like, let's do that one. I mean, I'm the same. I'm still getting over New York jet lag, so I was up for a chatty one, but then I thought about this and I was like, it's a bit naughty. We shouldn't really get a takeaway, but it's a good one. But it'll taste good. It does taste good, doesn't it?
It's a fantastic story. I think it's one of the can I say top 10? Can we?
Oh my God, completely. I was talking about this earlier, and I actually think that this cliffhanger is one of my top 3, if not potentially my number 1 favourite cliffhangers of all time, because there's loads of great cliffhangers in Doctor Who, but literally from the moment Yana takes the watch out of his pocket, which is 10 minutes towards the end, it's just so good the whole time.
It just ramps up and up and up and up and up, and there's a real genuine sense that the Doctor, Martha and Jack are completely stuffed, truly completely on their own. There is no one coming to help them. They are now, with the departure of the rocket, some of the last people alive in the universe. No one is coming to help them. There are these future kind at the gate. The Master's got the TARDIS. The Doctor's clocked out completely of whatever immediate danger everyone's in. He's like, you know what? Martha and Jack, you handle the door. I'm over here. I'm fine. I'm pondering things. I'm pondering much bigger things than you can conceive. But yeah, it's probably one of the greatest cliffhangers of all time.
It really is. Well, look, for anyone who might not have clued in, today we're talking about Utopia, the beginning of the 3-part finale for Series 3. It originally aired on the 16th of June 2007, which is mad to me. We're hedging the 20th anniversary of Series 3. We're not far off, a couple of years off. It was written by our Lord and Saviour Russell T Davies, directed by Graham Harper. As of today, day of recording, which is Tuesday the 11th of March, happy birthday, Graham Harper. It's his birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday to you.
Oh, it's your birthday. Oh, it's your birthday. Little reference.
Birthday!
It had an overnight viewership of 7.84 million, and it currently has an IMDb score of 8.7 out of 10, a very healthy 8.7.
Oh, lovely, delicious score.
Gobbly, gobbly, gobbly. Well, before we jump into the viewers' thoughts and ours, we've got a quick recap of the episode. As always, just hop on iPlayer if you can. It's amazing. It is so worth the watch. Like Alice was saying, I've rewatched this episode more times than I can count, and every time I enjoy it just as much. So please go and watch it if you haven't already. But if you would like a recap, here you go.
The TARDIS lands in Cardiff to refuel at the rift, and the Doctor is surprised to find the rift has been active. Before they can take off, Captain Jack Harkness jumps onto the TARDIS, causing it to accelerate uncontrollably to the year 100 trillion, the end of the universe. There, humans are struggling to survive against the sharp-toothed future kind and seeking a new home in Utopia.
After landing, Jack falls from the TARDIS, dead. To Martha's surprise, he jolts back to life, though the Doctor doesn't seem to be as shocked. The two reunite, and shortly afterwards, the Doctor, Jack and Martha end up being hunted by the future kind. They end up at the silo where they meet Professor Yana, a brilliant yet troubled scientist who's working to launch a rocket to Utopia, and his assistant Chantho, a native to the planet and the last of her kind. Yana suffers from persistent drum beats in his head, something he supposedly had since birth.
The Doctor and the team agree to help him finish the rocket and send the humans to Utopia. But as they talk about things such as regeneration, TARDISes, and time travel, regeneration, dental plan, Lisa needs braces, regeneration, Beatrice, Yana starts to unravel. Martha notices that he has a fob watch similar to the one the Doctor used to conceal his Time Lord identity a few episodes ago. As soon as Martha brings attention to his watch, Yana becomes intrigued and unknowingly unlocks his true identity, the Master.
Ooh, the rocket successfully departs, but once the Master remembers who he is, he turns against Chantho and allows the future kind to invade the base. Though Chantho shoots him before dying, he manages to reach the TARDIS, locking out the Doctor, who has also learnt of his true identity. Martha recognises his voice from behind the TARDIS doors. Fatally wounded, the Master regenerates into a younger form, taunting the Doctor before taking off in the TARDIS, leaving Jack, the Doctor, and Martha stranded at the end of the universe with the future kind breaking in. Dun dun dun!
I love as well, like, in that moment, the music is building and it's just like, ba 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 ba, and it's just, it doesn't stop. It's brilliant.
It doesn't stop. It's one of those cliffhangers that I could really imagine just having like, doof, 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 doof.
Oh my god, it's beyond doof doof. It's beyond doof doof.
It's dun dun dun. Well, before we jump into our thoughts, we reached out on our social media accounts at Wholala everywhere, and we asked you guys what you thought of the episode, and here is what some of you had to say.
Oh my god, well, this evoked a lot of feelings in all of you. So Nick Draws said, the last 10 minutes is legendary. I still get spine tingly from the moment Martha turns over the fob watch. Utopia is a great example of how quickly RTD can make us care. Yana and Chantho are so well drawn that it's heartbreaking when we say goodbye to either. Chan, R.I.P. Queen, though. Make Me Offer said, nothing in Doctor Who has topped the final 15 minutes since it was broadcast back in 2007. Seriously, nothing. Some of Series 4 almost does it. Maybe Tom Baker at the end of Day of the Doctor, but otherwise this is literally peak. Bad Wolf Archive says, such a genius reveal. For new viewers who didn't know who the Master was, it could have easily been underwhelming, but RTD setting up the Time War in season 1 to 3 and Yana and Gridlock meant that any returning Time Lord at all was a big deal and exciting for everyone watching, just as for Chantho. Dennis said, love the episode. Derek Jacobi was the highlight of the episode, playing Professor Yana and briefly the Master. Thank you, Big Finish. Also, loved the return of Captain Jack and finally explaining what happened to his life between parting the ways in Series 1 of Torchwood. Tom Flood says the Chad conversation between the Doctor and the Captain while Martha's just vibing is always majestic to watch. Rory said one of the best, although I'll never forgive my friend's dad for guessing who the Talk of Flame were as soon as they showed up in the next episode by going, is that where all the humans ended up from the last episode? Karis said, amazing cliffhanger reveal. I have great memories of watching it live on TV as a child. I didn't know who the Master was within the Whoniverse, but my mum, who watched Classic Who, did, and she was gagged. I think it was a good intro to the Master for a new audience.
Over on Blue Sky, Hamish, friend of the pod, said, Chan, a beautiful piece of television, though. Ethan, another friend of the pod, said, arguably one of the best directed episodes the show has ever had. Yes, a good chunk of it is shot in a Welsh quarry, typical, but at the end of the universe, world building through the set design, music and performance is sublime. Murray Gold really cooked in this episode and the finale overall. Masterful, 10 out of 10.
There's 2 locations in this episode, only 2, and it's Quarry and factory. And that is the magic recipe for production in RTD1.
That's what they got. And you know what? I don't mind it. I'd happily go back to it for certain things. I'm all good with it. Claws on Blue Sky said, "Oh, if only we could have had more of Jacoby as the master on screen." I'm always baffled. I haven't listened to the War Master big finishes, and I've heard they're amazing. I've heard that Derek Jappy is really good, but I never know, because they say in the episode he was like found as a child and grew, and then as soon as he's an old man and realizes he's the master, he's killed on screen. So I'm like, when does that fit into the timeline? I don't know. I'm sure someone will tell us. Laura says, "I adore this episode. The setups, the callbacks, and the reveal was so well done. Derek Jacobi is so good in this episode, and all performances are top notch. Also, I've always thought that John Sim looked really good in Yana's outfit." And finally, Ezra said, "If I said he's my favourite version of the Master, what would you say to that? I love Johnson in the role. I think it's the look coupled with his villainy for this one."
Wow. Okay. A lot of really good takes. They've once again eaten up our need to do the episode. So we'll leave it there. So we'll be back next week,
where we'll be doing The Sound of Drums. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.
Thanks so much. Goodbye. Good night.
No,
That was easy.
you all cover so many things. Whenever we do a fan favourite, like if we do an episode that like less people have watched, we'll always get like a really good chunk of well thought out tweets and posts from Blue Sky. But when you do a corker like this, suddenly you get an influx on. It's normally not both. It's either one or the other of the platforms. And Titter was popping off this week.
It was popping up this week. Can I jump in with a random point?
Go for it. Love a random point.
All right, random point. I kind of love how much the TARDIS just hates Jack and just rejects him. Like, he clings onto the TARDIS and the TARDIS is like, "Get off," and just tries to fling him off into the vortex.
Leave me alone.
I don't remember. Do you remember the shock of watching Captain Jack like holding onto the TARDIS in the time vortex? Like, I remember that being like a massive like paradigm shift for me as a child. I was like, "Oh my god, he's in the time vortex!" Like holding the TARDIS. Like that absolutely gagged me when I was younger.
It really gagged me. It's actually not from this episode, it's from series 1. I must have had a dream when series 1 was airing that Rose like looked out of the doors and fell out of the TARDIS, and the Doctor had to like hold her by the hand, and she was like flying through the vortex. And I don't know if it's just like me remembering this scene and misremembering it or what, like after I'd seen it, but like for years I was convinced that had been like a deleted scene from like airing on TV to that. So every time I see this scene of Jack being like Doctor, I think of this scene of Chris Eccleston and Rose that just doesn't exist. That is such a core memory to me. But
I can't imagine how that would look. That's crazy.
It's I see it like how Jack looks flying on the TARDIS in this one. Do you know what? I watched this episode with Josh and he made a really good point. He was like, wouldn't it have been so gaggy if Jack yelling Doctor had the TARDIS fly into the title sequence, but when it like that panning shot became the title sequence?
It would have been good. The thing is, the TARDIS moves so violently in the title sequence, and it comes back in the title sequence. You'd have to animate
Jack would be like
parts, coming back later. Oh dear. They also carry on this theme, like the TARDIS tries to shake him off because it's kind of wrong that he's a fixed point in time. Like he shouldn't be. Like what Rose did as the bad wolf was kind of like, it was messy. It was wrong. Like just like incorrect that was possible. And they carry that through to the Doctor finding Jack really icky. And it's an interesting way of explaining Jack's kind of abandonment that, on Satellite 5, he just sort of did a runner and left Jack behind. I mean, plausibly, the Doctor always thought Jack was dead, or he was busy about to regenerate and was like, "I don't have time for the cleanup right now. Like, I'm actually like over doing favors for other people. I just want to be with Rose and find my new body." But on this one, it kind of clarifies, like, no, I thought you might be all right. In fact, had a pretty good theory that Rose had brought you back to life. Not that shocked to see you. And also you repulse me.
That's the thing. I really like Jack's character. I really like Captain Jack. Not obviously talking about John Barrow, but I really like Captain Jack, and I feel so sorry for him in this scene because like he didn't ask for any of this. And there's that scene later when the Doctor's like, "Do you want to die?" And Jack's like, "I thought I did. I don't know." But the Doctor's just so nasty to him, and I do like we get that line later where he's like, "I'm a Time Lord. I can't help it. Like you're wrong. You're a fixed point. Like my biology is repulsed by you." But I do really feel sorry for Jack, but it does leave for a lot of nice like back and forth. I like, but he's like, she had work done, and Jack's like, you can talk, like that kind of like back and forthy banter. I really like as well the it happens a lot. Like it happened with Rose and Sarah Jane. It happens with Martha and Donna, mixing different companion pairings together. So like, there's that bit where Martha's trying to bring Jack to life, and she's like, "Oh no, he's dead." Which, by the way, they're just a dick for not just telling her. Like he lets her.
Yeah,
do what
at
she's doing.
several points.
At several points, especially the second one when she's like trying to revive him, and he's like, leave him," and she's like, "No, let me help." But
like, I thought she got the message the first time, and it was like, he's like, no, leave him.
And then the second time he's like, get off. But when she's like, he's dead, and then when he comes back and she's like, oh, so much for me, which I just think is really funny. But then
sausage surprise,
kale surprise. But there's a couple times where I really feel sorry for Martha. The first is when Jack says to the doctor, you abandoned me. And the doctor's reaction, it's just like, he doesn't even blink. He just stares him in the eye. And he's like, did I? Busy life, moving on. And Martha kind of, she just sort of stands there and she's like, oh, God. And then obviously they talk about Rose and you see her heart kind of break. I do love, though, Rose's theme. You got Rose's theme there.
That did it? Did it play?
Played Rose's theme when they were talking about Rose.
Didn't it? It's like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
boom.
you do get it.
You got a little bit of it. Yes, you're absolutely right, you do. Oh, well noticed, Sam, well noticed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, a few thoughts. One is like, yeah, Jack is a crazy character in that he endures more and has a worse fate as a result of meeting the Doctor than anyone else, but bears no resentment to the Doctor at all. Like, just always continually lives in admiration of the Doctor and carries that through until his dying breath as Bo.
Yeah.
Which is wild that he doesn't have like any lingering like resentment towards him for like, you know, cursing me with eternal life and then abandoning me without a solution. So I'm glad he made his peace with that. And also in Torchwood, I mean, there's so many points where the worst one, I think, one of his worst deaths, there's an episode in Torchwood where he gets buried alive underneath Cardiff and he is buried there for like 2,000 years. So he keeps dying, waking up, choking on soil, dying again, and just keeps like repeating that for 2,000 years or something. Like that's essentially he goes through his own heaven sent. Horrible. Like it's one of those ones that like, I mean, it's one of multiple moments in Torchwood that have made me like feel very panicky. But that, and then, you know, there's another scene in another place where like, you know, Unit try to kill him with concrete and there's all sorts of nonsense. But yeah, the Doctor's not gentle to him. Like Jack is just a human. Like Jack is, I mean, he's got this like, you know, ridiculous ability bestowed on him by the Bad Wolf, but Jack is just a guy. Like, luckily a very resilient guy. But if Jack was kind of a rogue character and, you know, went bad, he'd be a pretty devious enemy too, an unkillable enemy.
It could have been like, you know, we were saying about in the comics when Adam was like scorned by the Doctor in Dalek, and there's a whole comic about how he grew old and resentful and becomes this great big like supervillain. The Doctor, like Jack could have been, and I think it just is a big testament to his character that he has so much love for him, like you were saying, and he just has so much admiration that even though he was abandoned, he didn't like retaliate in the hundreds of years he was living out on Earth. Like he said, he went to visit Rose on the Powell estate, but he never went to go say hi. He just watched her from a distance to kind of like please himself.
Decided to try and kill her as a child to prevent his immortality from starting in the first place.
To prevent his immortality, exactly. Yeah, no, he didn't do that. But yeah, no, and the Doctor's just such a twat against him. I just feel so sorry for Paul. I feel sorry for Jack and Martha. The bit which is like, good old Rose. Like, I feel so bad.
I was talking to boyfriend Josh last night as we were watching this, and I said, like, David Tennant, like, he's one of the classic Doctors for a reason. Like, there's a reason that people like him so much. There's a reason why it's exciting when he comes back. Like, his Doctor is incredibly iconic. He really made it his own. His performance is extraordinary. Like, all his Tennant-isms are really good. They're fun to watch. And he somehow, like, sometimes he really, you know, he's written as an unlikable Doctor. He's written as egocentric, mean, self-centered. In this episode, you see like a lot of the worst of him, actually. He's very dismissive to Martha, doesn't think twice about her feelings at really any point in this story.
Yeah.
You know, takes it to the end of the universe, see the last of humanity. He doesn't once ask how she's coping with that. Keeps flaunting like Rose, 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 Rose all in front of her. And it's, you know, very obvious that at this stage in the journey, his doctor just needs someone. He doesn't necessarily need it to be Martha. Like, he doesn't know he needs Martha. He needs Martha, but he doesn't know he needs Martha. He doesn't, he just needs someone.
Yeah.
And but despite that, I think he's somehow enjoyable to watch. Like, you like this doctor still.
Oh yeah,
like,
no, I still love
despite
him.
all those elements of that character. He comes along with all his swagger and his ego, and he's still a delight. Like, he's still the hero of the story. Despite that, he's a flawed hero, but David Tennant keeps him very likable.
Yeah. No, I think if it was anyone other than David Tennant, you would really struggle to like this doctor. But everybody says like, "Oh, the doctor's my favorite. The doctor's my favorite," and same for me for years. And I think it's because David Tennant plays such a likable character, and there is so much lovableness in the 10th Doctor. But especially when I rewatch him and Martha, it just really like harkens back to the point for me that like he treated her like shit, and he was narcissistic and like treated Jack like shit. And I don't really think it was until obviously he was infatuated by Rose, but wasn't really until he met Donna that he like kind of he needed someone to like clap back at him. I think to like level him out a little bit. But yeah, so I think it's a really interesting dynamic having the three of them together. And so it's a really well earned trio. It doesn't just feel like fan service.
There's another interesting piece of the interaction here, which is where he meets Jack again. Like, Jack is revived in the quarry and they come face to face. He's like, "Doctor?" And I didn't even realize at the time that he's kind of like, "Doctor," in a kind of, "You're the Doctor, right?" ?
Yeah.
Because I forget that at this point, Jack has never met this Doctor.
Yeah.
And so he's like, "Oh, regeneration, right? New face." Da-da-da-da. And then Martha does a bit of a face, like a kind of like a, "Oh, what?" And I was like, does Martha not know about regeneration at this point?
No, even in this episode, she says like about the Slovene, she's like, "Oh, but there was an explosion here in Cardiff a few years ago. Was that you?" And the Doctor just kind of enigmatically says like, "Oh yeah, no, it was me. Lifetime ago. I was a different man back then." But because do you remember in 42, there's a moment where the Doctor thinks he's going to die when he's in the machine. And he tries to tell her, he's like, "Martha, there's this thing that happens if I'm going to die, this process." And she like cuts him off. She's like, "No, don't tell me that because that is not going to happen." So like, at least on screen, he tried to tell her and never has. So to my knowledge, Martha isn't ever really aware of regeneration until the Master in the next episode when he like ages him up. Talks about it.
God, that is, I mean, we're not doing 42, but just like, I'm like, damn, like, that is such a great, scary way for the audience to like really believe like the Doctor thinks he's going to die right now. Like, he's about to, so dead, he's about to explain regeneration. It's like, any second now, all right? Flames coming out of my hands, whole thing, all right? It's weird. I'm going to be a bit funny, but it's all right. Like,
it'll be all right at the end.
Like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I
didn't really think about that. Like, there's a lot of instances, I think, where the Doctor doesn't explain regeneration to his companions until quite a late stage.
Yeah.
One more thing I was thinking about the Time Lords, like, obviously at this point they've exhausted kind of two things. One is this kind of like lying about like my people, and I like to pretend they're still there. I like to pretend we can go to their planet, but we can't because they're dead. Now they pivoted that to be a bit more like, I've come to terms with it, but I'm like putting a brave face on it, but actually it still really cuts deep. They could do a nice like additional thing, I think, with the Time Lords at some point, which would be like the Doctor goes to start lying and then catches himself and is like, "I'm not being honest. Like,
actually,
they're gone. I like to pretend they're alive. It still really hurts." Like, there's another way you can. There's still ways you can go with that. I don't know. Sorry, Time Lords. I mean, we can talk about it now. We have to talk about Time Lords, but I was wondering if there's also a point in the story. We can talk about this because we're talking about the Master coming back, where the Doctor might eventually say, with enough time passing, like, yes, Gallifrey was my home, but I've not been there for hundreds of years. Like, I've not lived there for lifetimes. Like, if anything, the Earth is my home. I wonder if he'll kind of like start thinking of the Earth as a home in the way that he used to think of Gallifrey as a home.
I think he already does. Like, I think that's why he's so protective of it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think there has definitely been times where the Doctor like talks about it as home, and like the companions certainly have felt it. Like, there's that scene in Kill the Moon where Clara's having a go at 12 and she's like, "You walk our land, you breathe our air, that means that's your moon too," basically. Like, I think that there's certainly, at least between I think the Doctor and the companions, that there's some belief that Earth is a home to him in the same, like, it's not where he's from, but now at least with the Timeless Child, we don't know where he's from, so
You're not from Gallifrey either, love.
No,
I know. Yeah
Yeah. To bring it back to Utopia, because I feel like we could go on like, oh,
Sorry.
we got to do a whole episode. No, we got to do a whole episode. I still want to do an episode of The Timer at some point, but I like the scene when they're going to the silo. There's loads of like great memes that popped up in my head while I was watching it. There's a bit like someone saying, "Oh, anything good on Apple TV at the minute?" And it's silo for me. I immediately thought of that, and then
That's funny.
that says, "Me to my friend who just got back from Turkey and I noticed he hasn't had a hair transplant. Show me your teeth! Show me your teeth!
Show me your teeth! Show me your
Show
teeth!"
me your teeth!" It's really funny. I like seeing a human colony. I think we needed the line where it's like, oh, because we're trillions of years in the future, you've evolved into gas, then you evolved into downloads, but you sort of still go back to the basic human shape. We then have that scene with Jeff Lane where he is looking for his family and then finds his family, and it's a really lovely emotional beat where you need that kind of humanity at the end of the line,
Yes, I like that too. They kind of come into this like essentially refugee camp, and Jack and Martha are like, "Oh, it stinks in here," and he's like, "Oh yeah, like the ripe old smell of humanity. Like you made it. Oh, you're brilliant humans. You made it in the end." It's a nice little life affirming moment from the Doctor there, isn't it? This always comes back to that, like, what if you make it? What if you survive? You always think you're going to be gone. Climate change and
killed by oysters.
Yeah.
There is one thing that really bugs me, and it's such a stupid, nitpicky thing, but I think it actually is a problem with Doctor Who as a whole, and it is going right through to this era. Doctor Who has a problem with making up what people from the future would look like. Because I realised, I was watching it, and all of these refugees, I was like, they are dressed in the exact same costumes they use for the extras in Daleks and Manhattan Evolution of the Daleks. Like, what they're wearing is, I would say this on my, like, hand on heart, I would say on my chest, I believe they took the same costumes and just regurgitated them here.
Yeah.
And I really found this in Time Heist when everyone looks like they're from, like, J. Crew 2013 catalogue in the Time Heist Future Bank, and also in Joy to the World when they're like, look at all of human history right through till hundreds of years into the future, thousands of years in the future, but like the most futuristic quote-unquote person you see is someone from like the 2012 Olympics. And I just think that it has a dressing problem where they don't know how to make costumes for what they think people might look like in the future, even in a case like this where clearly whatever they're wearing is going to be old and worn and ragged. But I just don't think it'll be old and worn and ragged in the same way that that they would have looked in the 1940s New York.
The official position of Doctor Who is that fashion has gone as far as it can go. It can go no further. It's even true in the Time Hotel and Joy to the World. Essentially, everyone just wears suits. Like, we've gone as far as we can go.
Exactly. We've peaked.
There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
The Doctor has a few very haunting lines in this story. One of them that really stands out to me. They're kind of looking out at the dead, abandoned city from the people, the Chanthos species who used to live here. And Jack is like, oh, they must have an atmospheric shell. This is weird. If all the stars are gone, then we should be frozen to death. Also, stars are gone. Love that. Is that a bit of foreshadowing, I see? Is it? And
no.
He's like, we should be frozen to death. And the Doctor's like, well, Martha and I maybe. And then he turns to Jack and gives him the most haunting glare I've ever seen, as if this man is condemned, and goes, not so sure about you, Jack. And just stares him out and is like, I'll do it again because the door just shut. And he gives this man the most haunting stare and goes, not so sure about you, Jack.
Ooh.
And just stares him out, like the spookiest expression I think that man's ever pulled on his face.
It's haunting. But he does it a few times to Jack in this episode. Like when he said, you abandoned me, and he was like, busy life, moving on. And like when he's in I really like the scene of the two of them where Jack's kind of like trapped, so he has to have a conversation with the Doctor.
Yes.
And the Doctor kind of asks him some probing questions like, do you want to die? Or when did you realise that you couldn't live? And Jack kind of tries to avoid some of the questions, and the Doctor kind of leans on the door with that again, like haunting stare of like, Jack. I also was wondering from memory, don't we get, I think it's in series 2 of Torture, so after this episode had come out, like a montage of like Jack's first death in, he goes back to like the 1800s, and it shows loads of different deaths because he talks about them in this. And I may be wrong, I need to go back and watch it, but I feel like we do end up seeing quite a lot of those deaths.
See a lot of deaths. You see loads of his deaths. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot about how he ended up with like 1800s Torchwood. Yeah,
exactly. But and also in that scene, I know I'm like jumping back to Chantho, but in that scene, to quickly pivot to Martha and Chantho, I love the scene where they're queening out. It's like Rose and Gwyneth, where they're just like, oh, go on, say a swear, get a swear.
Go on.
But they realise like how similar they are with like how they feel about unrequited feelings for someone. And there's that bit when Jack asks the Doctor in that scene, like, oh, how did I survive the Daleks? And the Doctor says, oh, it was Rose. And then Martha's listening and she kind of like, gets distracted and you can see her thinking about it. And then Chantho looks at Martha and like sees how Martha is. I don't think they had the conversation specifically about who it is, but Chantho knew that look. And I just thought that was such a great little shot. And like a shot I haven't seen in the new era. Like I've not seen that kind of level of interaction, especially with a new character like Chantho. I really, really like that.
I like that they were kind of setting up the seeds, I think, for Martha to step up and move away, because she could probably also see herself in Chantho and was like, this actually isn't the role I want to play. I don't want to be this like subservient character who just like, walks around making someone else look clever, because it does mimic that relationship in a way that, again, is so disrespectful to Martha. She's so painfully loyal to this professor, though she is obviously intelligent herself. And, so in his shadow, and when the Master comes out, gives her such an undignified end as well, like, oh girl, how inappropriate, and finches her off, and Chantho eventually kills him. But it's almost like a shame for Martha that is the mirror to the role that she is kind of might feel that she plays for the Doctor, is just kind of at that kind of almost assistant level.
Yeah, no, I see that. I think that she has definitely proved herself as a character that isn't that, and yet the Doctor still treats her like it, like especially for the whole first half of the series where, you're just a guest, you're a guest in the TARDIS, you're a guest. And it's not until halfway through the season that he actually sort of like officially treats her like a companion in the way that he treated Rose episode 2. And I feel like that's been happening the whole time. And it's about like we were saying earlier, you have some really... David Tennant does a great job with towing the line between being a dickhead and being really likable. There's a really funny line where he calls himself a hermit, and Jana's like, a hermit with friends? He's like, Hermits United, and goes on about like how they meet up every month and talk about caves. And, he comes to the rescue and he's like, yeah, let's save the rocket, we'll do everything. But then in the same breath, he like completely in this episode, like I think really sort of like sidesteps Martha, and I don't want to like get too much into the sort of 5 and 10 minutes yet because I know we'll sort of save that for the end, but there's a bit which I really hate, and I was watching it and it really made my skin kind of crawl, where Martha is trying to tell him about the watch, and she's like, he's got this watch, it's the same as yours, and he's like, no, don't be stupid, it can't be. And she's like, no, babe, I really think this is that watch.
I've seen the watch.
Trust, I've seen the watch, I've actually seen it. And then he says like, what did he say? And she kind of like is trying to like stumble on her words. He runs right up to her, like an inch away from her face, and he just screams, goes, what did he say? And like,
what did he say?
I understand he's going through a whole thing, like he thought it was the end of his kind, like the last of his kind. And then also, and I guess we aren't meant to know this at this point. Like at this point, we're just thinking that he wants someone else. But then what you see in the end of time is that he actually doesn't want the Time Lords to come back because they had become evil, basically. Yes. And he was such a big part in like killing them. So I do understand the subtext, and I understand why he's like that. But just watching him do it to Martha, who's already so mistreated, it just like, it really like sent a shiver down my spine.
Yeah, you know what though, as well, looking back, they set up like the reveal so much deeper in this episode than just like the Yana thing. There's so many points where we get this very beautiful version of This Is Gallifrey, which is a hint in itself. And because you can kind of read that musical cue innocently enough, because in that room you have Chantho, who's last of her kind, the humanity at the very last, at the very edge of existence. You have the Doctor there. So, when he like fixes the machines and then this big swell of This Is Gallifrey, you could just think like, oh, okay, like it's a callback because he's getting to like rescue all these people instead of have them all die like they did in the Time War. But the reality is that music's playing because, of course, he's face to face with the Master and doesn't know it. And I think sadder than that, you get this relationship between the Professor and the Doctor almost playing out exactly what the Doctor fantasizes that his relationship with the Master could be. So only because the Master doesn't know he's the Master, and only because he is living this, fabrication, this total made-up life, he can play that role and be that to the Doctor. So the two of them, playing together with the Doctor going like, "Oh, that's food. You built this amount of food and string and staples. You're a genius. Any other time you'd be revered." And that's who he wants to be with the Master. Like, he's always felt like the Master had all this potential. He always felt like we were friends. We were in school. He was a genius. He was brilliant. Like, if only you could put that brilliance towards something good, you could do so much. Like, why do you just want to conquer things? Like, you could do so much. So for a moment, without the Doctor even knowing it's him, they're getting to like play that relationship with each other for a little bit. And that's why that musical cue is coming in, because for a moment, that's everything he wants, is for them to, save worlds together. Like, what a double act they'd be if they could just, the Master could build the system out of food and string and staples, and then comes the Doctor at the end and he kind of, finishes it off and makes the system work. Like, that's everything he wants. And it's tragic because it's impossible.
It really is. It's such a like sad, poetic. The Doctor getting what he wants at the end of the episode, which is not to be alone, basically. But then in the same time realizing that the person who he's with is both at the same time his best friend and also his mortal enemy. And the conflicting thoughts of like, oh my God, I'm not alone, but also, shit, it's the crazy one. Like,
the worst one.
It's like literally the worst one. It's just so bad. And also like, okay, I'm diving into the last 10 minutes. I don't care. We can go back.
All right, right.
The build up to the Yana reveal, like, I stand by the fact this is the best 10 minutes of the any other. The music here as well goes really like yodeling. It's like, and you get that swelling yodeling. But not just in this season, but the entire show of New Who up until this point. It's yodeling. Like, properly led up to that. It's yodeling to me. I understand it's not yodeling. It's yodeling to me. And you get like all the voices of like the Anthony Ainsley Master and the Roger Delgado Master.
Yeah.
Then within New Who, you have the payoff of Captain Jack. You have the payoff of Professor Yana. You have the payoff of the face of Bo. You get the payoff of Vote Saxon, although we don't know by now. Like, there's Martha being like, hold on, I know that voice. Like, there's so many different ties coming to this finale that so much is paid off. It is such a satisfying, and not even the cliffhanger, just like the reveal. It is such a satisfying reveal.
Yeah, I love it so much. It's really brilliant. You're right. So many things like together all suddenly feel really smart and all tie into this. Rewatching it is funny because like the way they communicate with other people is they like type in their name into this computer so you can see them on their Skype, and they type in really slowly, like YANA, like really slow, to just to hammer that point. But yeah, you're right.
Just
like,
so you know,
the chaos. So much is happening all at once. Like, the main story in itself is tense because this is like the last ditch for humanity. Like, these are the very last people.
Yeah.
They are boarding this rocket ship that's like, made out of bits of old crap, basically, and shouldn't work. And somehow, like, off they go to Utopia, where this message has been coming from. Like, God knows what that is. The Doctor doesn't know what it is. Like, Professor Yana doesn't even know what that is. But they're off somewhere, like, last hope. I guess this is it. Like, all the stars are gone. This is all they can do. And, if they fail to do this, they'll die. And the future kind are at the door. Like, they're clawing their way in as well. And at the same time, like, the Doctor couldn't care less. Like, he does that quick call to establish with the rocket, like, did he make it? Did he make it? Like, have you got into the atmosphere? Can I forget about you now, basically?
Yeah, literally.
Can I park that? And then he's like, right, on to my main story. Who the hell is this guy? Sprints to find him. But oh my God, I even love the drama of the Master getting into the TARDIS because the door is open because, they've had to wire some power through the doors. The door's open. He gets in there and he just shuts that yellow lock behind him, and it's like the most ordinary like front door key, and he just kind of lifts up that latch, like a door that everyone's used, and then just like them, the Doctor like fumbling with a key, like it just becomes so like
real.
All the sci-fi's gone for a second, and they're just fumbling with keys, and it's just like it's an argument through a wooden door. Like, yes, it's a TARDIS, but it's also like it's just him shouting through a door, and I don't know, it felt very it felt real.
It felt very real. I do love that, like, I know the Master ends up pressing something on the console, but what is stopping the Doctor getting in is just a little, like, Yale lock.
Yeah.
And suddenly at the end of the universe, when all lasers and rockets and whatnot have all gone, it is just two people arguing through a door. And when the master regenerates, and again, I wished when we get those little like 3 minutes of Derek Jacobi's master on screen. Again, I know we get him in Big Finish, and that's amazing, but he's such a delicious master, and he comes so well off of like the classic Who masters. When he does regenerate, couple things. One, I really love the graphics of it. I love that it is the, now classic quote unquote New Who, like head and arms back, exploding fire through everything. But it is a different color, and you see his eyes like rolling like through his head. And the main thing I like about it is that it hurts. Like the master's screaming.
Oh yeah.
And the Doctor, like, oh my God, like Martha and Jack by the door trying to keep the future kind out. And the Doctor is just like paralyzed with fear, really. Like he is paralyzed in front of the TARDIS, watching the flashing lights through the doors, hearing the Master scream. Like he knows what is happening in there. He knows there's nothing he can do to stop it. And he just like him like not even being able to try and help stop Jack and Martha being eaten by the future kind. It is it's so good. I really, really love this introduction to the Sims Master.
Oh yeah. Oh, Sims Master is fantastic. I love that in his dying moments, the Jacobi Master. I don't think it meant to be saying Jacobi or Jacobi. I'm so sorry.
I'm saying Jacobi. I don't know.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jacobi. But I feel like it's not Jacobi. I'm sorry, Mr. Jacobi. I love that he's like, right, fine. If you're going to become this, swashbuckling, handsome Doctor, me too. John Sim, what a fantastic casting. If you've ever seen him in Ashes to Ashes, that's like my favourite thing that he's been in. He's so great. So great. And I love his master. He's so like the opposite to David Tennant for the master. Like it makes absolute sense. Like opposite David Tennant, this is David Tennant's master. Like absolutely makes sense to me. And his immediate like funny quirkiness that feels like it's almost in the same vein as David Tennant's quirkiness. Just even when he lands, he's going, "Oh, hello." Like there's a hint of a doctoriness to it and a bye-bye. He's funny as well. Like he's a funny master.
He is. No, he completely is. I remember when he came back in the 12th Doctor's era, I was really curious how it'd be, and I love him in that. But I'm glad we also have Missy in the episode, because it's really 12 and Missy, and he's kind of like a side master to that, because he, to me anyway, is so paired to the 10th Doctor. And I know obviously his aesthetic has changed a lot, so then he harpens a lot more back to like the Delgado Master. But like you said, he's the other side of the coin to David Tennant's Doctor.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I love that, like, this episode teases so well, like Martha being like, hold on, I know that voice. Like, it passes on to the next episode so well. And, like, this is one of those part of the finales where it is more... I like when they do this where it is an episode of itself, like this is kind of its own story, and not until the very end do you realise it's actually tied to a bigger thing. It's similar to the 3-parter with the monks in series 10, where the first episode where they're all in like the simulation, it's very much an episode in its own right, and then right at the end you realise, oh, this simulation for like some people that are coming, and then that leads into that. And I just think it's such a good reveal. It's such a good cliffhanger. It truly is, and I stand by the fact I think it is one of, if not the best cliffhangers. I really agree with Make Me an Offer. It's one of the best, if not the best ones of all time.
Yeah, it is one of those like, how are we gonna, how the hell are they gonna get out of this? But there's still enough placed in that they've talked about the vortex manipulator in that episode that you could reasonably work out how they're going to escape that episode. The context as well for this episode, it's so bleak. Like the setting they're in is so dark. The fact that they're really here at the edge of everything. Like you can't imagine like just being like, this is it. Like this is the end of time. Like all the stars are gone. This is it. Like there's lines dropped in. Like Professor Yana says things like, oh, there hasn't been a university for 1,000 years. There's just like things that don't exist anymore because everything's about survival now.
Yeah.
And that's really dark. And even like lines like them saying like, oh, we're about to go out for like the last ever water run. I don't know. There's things about that. Like they're just so on the edge. Like they're just, clinging to, if this rocket doesn't work, this is it. Like it's so last ditch, and there being this call from somewhere to Utopia doesn't really make sense, but they're like, good enough for us. Like it's that or nothing.
Literally. Yeah.
And like Xantho's totally come to terms with, like, as well, like, oh yeah, like, I'm the last of my kind, they're all dead. It's like, oh, okay. Like, like, we're kids. We're little kids watching this. Like, it's just another one of those episodes where we're just like, oh, wow. Like, that's a real year that will, like there will be a time where the last humans are the last humans.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't see them doing this kind of stuff now.
I can't also get through this episode without mentioning the skies are made of diamonds.
The skies are made of Blue Peter diamonds.
It's Blue Peter diamonds. And then Martha's follow-up line, which is, good for her.
That's so true. This episode's so funny. You have so many different tones, like you were just saying about like how like just I'm feeling a bit awful inside, like the end of everything.
Sort of awful inside.
But like one thing that I didn't really think about much until I was watching it and analysing this time is it's quite a slow burner, this episode, because the last 10 minutes are so like dun 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 dun, dun, but up until then it's a lot of talking. It's a slow burner talking episode, and I really like that.
I don't know if I go as far as to call it a slow burner, but there is a lot of good dialogue that happens in this one. I mean, they do have a whole chase scene from the future kind quite early into this. Yeah. And also we have Doctor in the first like 1 minute with an electric guitar soundtrack going but I understand what you meant.
Thank you. Well, I think it is anyway up until then, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Also, this is such a random thing. I've been watching a few episodes of Totally Doctor Who recently because I don't know if you've watched it. It's all on iPlayer. It came out for the 60th, but series 2, especially of Totally Doctor Who, it's probably what gave so many Doctor Who fans ADHD because it's just so like this thing's moving every time. But the takeaway I took from it is that the soundstage where they filmed Totally Doctor Who is the stage next to where the TARDIS set is. And I'm sure it's not there all the time. It's probably there after they finish filming. But you walk out of the like fire exit door from that stage and you're suddenly on the TARDIS set. And I was watching the beginning of this where the Doctor and Martha are on the TARDIS and I was like, the Totally Doctor Who set is next door to this. And that was like all I was thinking about during that scene.
Oh my god, what a thought. I honestly though, saying this at the start, right, honestly the sets, I didn't really think about this until I heard like, I think it was really recently Russell T Davies talked about like using factories and like all of Doctor Who in his era, and he's like, oh, there's only so many times you can show a factory and only so many ways you can light a factory. And I don't think I'd ever like really clocked how much they use factories.
Oh,
and
it's
I really
so
thought about
much.
it. And so this is niche. And there was this picture during COVID, and it was that picture of Matt Hancock's face on a screen and his like massive head over a bunch of like frontline workers like lined up in a row, and people were like, there's something really RTD1NG about this picture. And it like it's hard to explain, but it does look like something out of the Poison Sky. And I think on reflection, it's just to do with like uplighting in a factory is like basically what it is. If you put purple uplighting or green uplighting in a factory, it's Doctor Who.
I want to look this up. Who was that again?
RTD1.
Who is the photo of again?
Matt Hancock.
It's the factories thing is something that I had never really thought about much, but now when I think about it, like you think of the Dalek spaceship in The Stolen Earth and Journey's End, that's a factory. You think of the Dalek spaceship in Victory of the Daleks, that's a different factory. Like factories are used so much in Doctor Who, and you know what? I'm so for dressing an existing set, like how the Crash of the Byzantium is all just set in like Welsh caves and they would just put some extra rocks in. Like I am so up for that. I think that you can get like such a Doctor Who-y feel from just slightly dressing factories and stuff. I think that works so well.
I can't find the image, but someone's tweeted thinking of that one Matt Hancock photo that is indistinguishable from Russell T Davies era Doctor Who tweeted 3 years ago. So we like all knew the picture. Anyway, if someone can find the picture, please send it to us because it's very funny and Sam hasn't seen it.
Yeah, that's it. Please send it over.
I am on the same page though because I think the factories serve a wonderful job, and I mean they haven't stopped. I mean factories are still in Doctor Who like every other week, aren't they? And it works, baby. It works. And also, look, listen, it's more environmentally friendly. The only issue with it is that we can't move a factory to be part of a Doctor Who experience when we're done with it. But there's no Doctor Who experience left anymore anyway because it wasn't making any money.
Yeah, they've sold all the costumes now. So there's that one guy who I always see on Twitter, and he like acts as like Cybermen and stuff. And he bought a Sea Devil costume because he played a Sea Devil in the episode. Now he's just like walking around his garden dressed as the Sea Devil. I think that's so funny.
I just love that that's just like in private ownership. It's like, well, it's yours. Like the BBC doesn't even own that anymore. It's
there was one person who's just like a Doctor Who fan and paid enough money, and they've got like the Trini robot from Trini and Susanna just in their conservatory.
It's just so funny because like obviously these things were like never really meant to like last, and they definitely weren't meant to last 20 years. And they're now just like, you know, they've got like little bits of like exposed foam on them and stuff. Like, you know, somehow someone's gonna have to restore this stuff if they want to. No idea how you'd even go about that.
No, I do kind of wish. Listen, there's not much I wish about billionaires. Eat the rich, but I kind of wish that some really. It is quite nice that like so many different people now have parts of Doctor Who history in their home. Yes, I did bid quite a few £100 on a Weeping Angel, and no, I did not win it. But
No.
I kind of wish someone had just bought all of the stuff up and then decided to just hire a space and like make an unofficial experience for people. I understand I didn't make enough money, and I do get why it closed, but I just think there's something so lovely about having like an in-person exhibition, like Harry Potter Studio Tour-esque about Doctor Who, that I just don't think will get much anymore. That yeah, I think that's very sad. But
I know.
what are you gonna do?
I think they must have retained a lot of it because everything was for sale. And obviously they're making new props every year all the time. Like new things are still being made that won't be for sale. But yes, I mean also for a good cause.
For children
Also,
age.
listen, I love charity. Charity's great. We love charity.
We love charity.
We love
and they made
charity.
so much money. They made so much money from it. So that's very good.
So there we are.
Yeah.
Listen, I think it's a gorgeous piece of television. I think it's a great episode. I think the relationship between Professor Yana and the Doctor in this is fantastic before the reveal. I love that you have the irony of Professor Yana, who doesn't know he's the Master, being the one who is so excited for companionship and the one who wants to find this other scientist so badly. And it's, ooh, the Doctor, a scientist. And then ultimately it's the Doctor who's the one who wants the companionship so badly, but it flips the other way and off goes the Master to go and do some devious plans with the Toclophane. But
And devious they are.
But ultimately it's, you know, the Master who flies off and decides to do some devious things with the Toclophane and butcher the humans. That's another thing that, like, I mean, I guess we'll have to cover next week. Is Toclophane.
Oh god. Well, we don't have the reveal next week. We have the reveal the week off. Do you want to do them as two parts? I'll ask you this question on live. What do you think? Because I'll ask the audience as well. For some two-parters, we do them both in one episode if it feels very much like one part of a big story. And then for other two-parters, we'll split them. Like Utopia very much had to be its own thing. But what do you think? I kind of think we need to split them because the Year of Martha feels so its own thing. But it is one big story. I don't know.
I quite like when we split them because we get to actually like chop them up properly. But yeah, let's see.
We'll see what this is say. Well, look, to be honest, my last thought I had from this is right at the very end of the episode when they're trying to stop the future kind from getting in. There's a shot of Jack they use twice where he kind of goes like, and like leans in to stop the future kind, and they use it twice, and then I'm pretty sure they use it at the beginning of the next episode as well, and it bugs me every time. I'm like, it's twice within like a minute in this, like a very specific shot of him, and I was just like, you could, like one different shot, you're going to get this one shot.
They didn't get enough footage.
They didn't get enough footage. But no, like I said, I really like this episode. I think it's a great new Master that we get, even though it's only for a few minutes. I love Derek Jacobi's work. I love his performance in this. I'm so glad we do have him for audio dramas. And I can't wait to get into next week where we talk about the next part.
Oh, I can't wait. Honestly, I'm loving it. And it just gets gaggier and gaggier. So keep it up.
Keep it up. Well, look, before we get to next week, I do have a little game for you.
Oh, a little game.
A little game called Camp or Dump! Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Camp or Damp is a little game we like to play where we go through moments in the episode and we say whether they're camp or whether they were damp. Alasdair, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Jack flirting with every living being. Camp or Damp?
Well, they don't protest. Oh, I do not protest. Jan, I do not protest, though.
Martha's like, I don't mind. And then there's that one random essay in the middle
mind.
where he's just kind of like smiling down the camera like, ooh.
Yeah. It's camp in the isolation of only considering the character and nothing broader than that.
I will take it. I'll take it. Chantho swearing. Chan, no, actually, not saying Chan though. Camp or Damp?
I think it's camp as long as we're not unduly mocking people with different languages, but I think this is okay.
Okay. And finally, regeneration. It's a TARDIS. Regeneration. Camp or Damp?
Settle plan. I just think it's so funny that bit. Just regeneration. It's just the clip it's taken from when Jack first says it, like when he's in this like radiation tank and he's like, regeneration. It's iconic. It's iconic to me. Regeneration.
Well, it's because he's like, this regeneration, it's kind of cheeky. And they like take that like cheeky tone. And then
regeneration.
And then they like, it's like regeneration. Regeneration.
If that was the loop instead, it's kind of cheeky. It's kind of cheeky. It's kind of cheeky.
Oh my God, it's so silly. I love it. So silly. I've also got some fun facts for you about this episode. There's one fun fact which it was in my notes to talk about the episode, but I'll say it now. The actor who plays the guy in The Future Kind, he is called Paul Mark Davis, and he is the only actor to appear in Doctor Who in all three of the successive spin-offs, Sarah Jane Adventures, Torchwood, and Class. He plays different characters in them all. His most notable is the Trickster in the Sarah Jane Adventures. He plays the Trickster.
That's a good role.
He's in every single one of the spin-offs, other than Class. What's her name? The news anchor that we're obsessed with. What's her name? Trinity Wells.
Oh, yes.
She's in Torchwood, Sarah Jane, and Doctor Who, but she's not in Class, so it's just him.
Oh, just him.
Just him. Professor Yana's costume was directly inspired by the first Doctor's outfit. Russell Davies was quoted to tell the costume designer to hartnell him up.
Oh, hartnell him up. I like that. Yeah, I like when the Doctor's wearing something a bit timeless, something a little bit overdressed.
Yeah, I like it. I want to go back to an era where we get like the flouncy third Doctor frill. I'd love to see some of that.
Yeah.
This is quite a fun fact. So this is the first time in the revived series that the Doctor uses his sonic screwdriver in a vertical fashion, reminiscent of how his old Sonic in the classic era was used. It was always used holding upright, whereas now he normally like shoots it forward.
Oh, is it the first time he does it?
Yeah.
Oh, it looks so right.
I know. So we kind of like talked about it earlier, but 9-year-old John Bell from Kilmacolm in Scotland entered the Blue People competition to appear in the Doctor Who story. He was notified by phone by Russell T Davies that he beat out 8,000 other competitors. I was one of them. I did apply for this competition, and I remember, I will say this now, I remember so vividly. They gave you like 3 different scripts you could read, and you chose it. And my dad filmed on a camcorder. We had like a proper little tape camcorder.
Love.
And I will always remember that the ending, and I wish I still had the footage of this, is you said, it takes a long time, you see, to get to the snake monster planet. And then you look, like I at least, looked into the sky and got wistfully stared. And then my dad, like, slow zoomed and went like, zzz, with the camcorder, like, into me. And I can see it in my head, and I'm sure the tape's been wiped over. Like, I've just digitized all of our home movies. It's definitely not there. But I was beaten out by John Bell, but what's really cute is he obviously went on to play the character in this episode. However, the runners-up, Lizzie Watkins and Jonathan Wharton, appeared as extras, so much as they didn't have speaking roles, they were still in the episode.
Oh, so they still got to come. You know what? And I bet David Tennant did a nice meet and greet with the lot.
Probably did. I like it. One final thing, which is I'm sure you picked up on anyway. The episode takes place just days after the finale of Torchwood Series 1, The End of Days. At the end of the episode, Captain Jack sees the Doctor's severed hand start glowing and hears both the sensors beeping and the sound of the TARDIS from outside. So he goes to run and find the Doctor.
He does. There's a good bit of music actually in that episode, in that ending, when his, the hand starts bubbling and then wind blows on his face and he can hear the TARDIS in the distance, and it connects very nicely, and you get a bit of the Doctor's theme actually play in Torchwood, which is nice.
Oh, it's always nice. It's like you sent me this clip recently. I'd watched it a couple months ago, the first episode of Class. There's a bit where the Doctor saves a couple of people, and it's so weird for Capaldi's era, but the TARDIS comes and you get a real strong kind of like la 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 la, and hearing the Doctor's theme in spin-off shows is so good.
It's great, isn't it? It's like oh, you got the permission, well done.
Yeah, I know, it is like that, it is. Oh, well, thank you so much, lovely listener, for listening to this episode on Utopia. Next week, we will be revisiting The Sound of Drums, so make sure you keep an ear out for that. We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can shoot them over to us on all of our social media. We're at HulalaPod everywhere. That is X, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. You can also rewatch old episodes of the podcast on our YouTube channel at HulalaPod.
HulalaPod. Yes, you can indeed. And if you enjoyed this episode, my darlings, we'd really appreciate 5 stars. You can also follow us to get notified when we drop new episodes of the podcast. You can buy us a coffee if you like, ko-fi coffee. You can share this episode with someone who loves Utopia, loves the Toclafane, loves John Sim, any of the above, or hates it, so they can hear what we think, or just really likes Doctor Who. That's always great too.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.